Hey guys, welcome back to the Retail Age. So today I'm going to talk about support and resistance. I know you guys are going to say that so many people have talked about this before, but that's alright because today I'm going to talk about it in a different way. In a way that regardless if you have heard about support or resistance before, this video will help you to understand what it is, how to use them in a way that actually makes sense. So I'm going to explain support and resistance today using the story, not just lines, right? Because lines can get convoluted. It may not have meaning, but stories will. So after knowing the story behind this, you will learn when and why do they fail. And last but not least, I'm going to show you how you could have applied all this year to have actually made better trading, better investment decisions. So one misconception is that, only traders can use support and resistances. I think after finishing this video, if you are a long-term investor, hopefully you can see that by looking at support and resistances in a common sense way, it can help you greatly actually improve some of the decisions, such as if you are doing lump sum investment, if you are considering, when to maybe take some money out of the market to use for extra spending, these will prove to be valuable, right? So without further ado, let me just jump in. What are support and resistances? So these definitions, I don't want to waste too much time. You guys probably heard of it countless times. Simply put, support are areas where buyers tend to come in and thus provide, as they say, support to the price. And resistance is where sellers think, okay, this level is where I should sell, and it acts like a cap. So everyone knows this, but what does this really show? So think about it like this. In essence, support and resistances basically just indicate when people wanted to actually get in and out at certain prices, but they missed their opportunity. So the next time when the price comes to these levels, they act, right? So if you think about it this way, you cannot look at any chart in isolation. I know there are times where there are people who like to show you a chart and ask you, is this bullish or bearish? I personally think that that's just not a fair question because everything has context. You need to know the context because otherwise you are really just, guessing with a very low probability. So let me explain. So support and resistances are basically about how humans behave, right? So support is really how people, they remember the chances they've missed. So you think about this. Assume there's phone sales, but they only last for a few hours, or as you can always say, people say, when stocks last. Or maybe you're only limited to the first 10 or 15 people who participate in the sale. So what do you think is going to happen to the rest of the people who wanted to buy this phone at the sale price but couldn't get the opportunity, right? Maybe let's say half a year later, the sale returns at the same discount. What do you think all these people are going to do? Assuming everything else is the same, they're going to jump in and buy, right? Because last time they missed the chance. And that is how support forms. Make sense? And if we look at it the other way around, people remember painful losses. So let's say people are climbing a steep hill, and when they are reaching the top, there's this especially dangerous part that always causes them to fall down. What do you think is going to happen the next time, they arrive at that spot? They're probably just going to turn away, or they'll be like, okay, enough. I'm not going to finish the hike. I'm going to stop here and go down. And that's exactly what happens when resistances are formed. People remember what happened the last time it was there, and they didn't manage to get out, for example. They didn't manage to avoid the path, and they fell down the hill. So the next time, this memory will cause them to come down first, or in market's term, to sell. And that's how resistances are formed. So Now we know that the formation of resistance and support is really due to human behavior, human psychology. Now, then we can figure out when would they not work or when would they break down. So firstly, repeated testing. If support and resistances are formed due to missed opportunities and those people coming back to act on these opportunities when they arise again, repeated testing of support and resistance levels are basically all these people getting more chances to do what they want to do until there's no more people left. Everyone has got their chance. And when this happens, the support and resistances will break because the opportunity is basically no longer attractive enough. For example, using back the phone example, maybe it's 25% sale and everyone was super excited, right? However, after 10 rounds of those, people who wanted to buy a phone have all bought at the 25% discount. And you're left with people who, really don't really need that phone. So maybe now they require a 50% discount. And that is how the old support level of a 25% discount price breaks. Right. So the other thing that could happen that could cause support and resistances to not work anymore would be a change in fundamentals, change in the story, right? And if you watch my previous videos on why you shouldn't buy the first dip during such events, feel free to revisit it and you will know what do I refer to when I say change in fundamentals, right? Basically big events that rewrite expectations. Let's put it in the phone context again. Let's say, after the first 2 promotions of 25%, right? There are still a lot of people at that time who couldn't get in and buy at the sale price. But a breaking news comes out. It's now proven that that phone is of a super low quality, and maybe the moment you drop it, you're going to see the crack, this crack that you see in this picture. So what do you think is going to change? Right now, the old sale price will lose its meaning because then people are not willing to buy the phone anymore, even if it's 25%, even maybe if it's 50% discount, because they simply do not want a poor quality phone. And that is a new piece of news that they received that changed how things work. So yes, when these things happen, you see that support and resistances will easily get broken through because the old levels would have lost its meaning when the entire story changes. Now, let us look at this typical scenario. Because you probably heard that when supports break, they turn into resistances, and resistance break, they turn into support. Now I'm going to illustrate this in a hopefully very common sense way of why this happens. So imagine this guy, like FOMO, let's call this Wall Street bad guy FOMO Fabian, okay? So FOMO Fabian, at the start, he heard all his friends talking about, this stock, we should buy the dip. It's going to bounce off support, etc., etc. So he decided to buy the dip at the support level, as you can see the green arrow here. But what he didn't know is most of the buyers who wanted to buy, who lost the opportunity in the past, have already got in during previous support bounces. So the support breaks. And what do you think is going to happen to FOMO Fabian? He's going to have a reaction that is, the normal reaction. When you buy something, it drops immediately below your buy price and you'll be like, oh crap, now what do I do? I mean, if you're a long-term investor, you can very well hold it through. However, you must understand that there are a lot of people who are punters, who just buy without having a plan, and these people, they're going to panic. So the price goes down and they hold, they don't want to take a loss. But what do you think is going to happen, the next time the price comes back to the level FOMO Fabian bought in it? He's going to cut his losses and try to just sell at near break-even price, because that's human psychology. Humans do not like to take losses. So whenever they can, after getting trapped, they'll try to get out as soon as possible once they get a break-even. And the break-even price is, in this case, the previous support price, because a lot of people bought in at support thinking it will hold, it didn't, and now when it gets back, all these people will sell, and this is what caused the support becoming a resistance. And now let's look at the flip side. After, maybe many bounces of resistance, and maybe there's, a piece of good news, and price goes back to the support level. But this time, because FOMO Fabian, he doesn't, pay attention to the markets, he doesn't look out for the news that actually matter, he decided not to buy. Because obviously he had a previous bad experience. But what happens is the price goes through the resistance, and now he's like, oh my, I missed this chance again. I have to get it, right? And what happens? The next time price grinds down to support level, all the FOMO Fabians who failed to get in the last time would FOMO in now, and that is how support levels is formed. So hopefully everything so far has been clear. If not, I'm going to make it more clear now by using what happened this year as a real life example of how certain support and resistances formed and how you can use it to your advantage in the future. So this is probably a familiar chart with all of you guys by now. If you look at, what happened prior to Liberation Day, which is around this level, right? You could say that, oh, this part is a support and this part is a resistance, right? So if you think about what we talked about just now, why did this happen? Because again, there were a lot of people looking, maybe to buy the dip. They think that this area is a support. And when prices came down, all the FOMO Fabians bought here. But to their surprise, price continued to drop. And now these people who bought here are looking for an opportunity to get out as soon as possible. And they did at this place, which is why the resistance formed. Okay, and then obviously we had all these, Liberation Day, which, any support would not have mattered. And then all the way rebounds back. But if you see something interesting, when price came back to this, previous level where support turned into resistance and now it's back here, it slowed down. It couldn't really break through. Why? Because again, this down move happens so sharply. If you think about it, resistances are formed when people who wanted to get out did not have the opportunity. And these people, if you think about it, they only had 2 days to get out. And then they suffered such a huge drawdown. What's going on in their minds right now? Now they have an opportunity to get out again. So, definitely you can expect sellers to come in. Because this is the first test of the level post the sell-off. So you know that there is definitely a lot of people looking to get out. But now, what happened after that? The S&P broke out. And why? It's precisely due to the second reason we mentioned just now. There was a change in fundamental news. And what was that news? It's basically US and China cut reciprocal tariffs to 10% in 90-day truce. So that is huge because previously the whole market was really focused on the US-China tariffs. These two of the biggest trading partners in the world is going to have huge impact, right? So now that they cut it to 10% in 90 days reprieve, that's huge. And what happens is opportunity set has changed, right? You know, all these people who thought, oh, we should try to get out when we could, now all of a sudden they no longer want to get out, because with this news it doesn't seem so attractive to get out at this price anymore, right? That's exactly what happened. Sellers went away, price broke out, and this level, which was previously a resistance, turned into support. When the price came back, you know, all those people who possibly even sold here, they are like, okay, now is my chance to get in again at the same price we sold. And that is exactly what happened. And since then, the price has been an uptrend. And if you watched my previous video again, you know, on what news to really look out for to try and determine the flows in the market, you would probably be able to find news that over here, you know, a lot of the institutions haven't really managed to buy back all the kind of stocks they sold during this sell-off. So they would try to use, you know, dips to try and put back the exposure to the market. And that is exactly what happened. You saw, like in my previous video, I highlighted these two areas as well, as to how once there were dips, it was getting bought up quite quickly. And last but not least, where are we now? Again, you could see 2 days ago, there was a small dip, we got bought up. Even though, you know, at this point, as I mentioned in the last video, institutions have already bought quite a lot, so they may wait, you know, for more attractive discounts, you know, before buying. And many of you may ask, so you've seen people draw like trend lines and stuff like this, and why do this work? Again, there's no science to this. You have to think about it in the form of human psychology. So let's go back to the example of the discount on a phone purchase, right? Think about it. Phone prices, if you assume phone prices go up over time because phones becomes better, right? So you can't expect a similar discount to get you back to the same price, and this is exactly what happened. As the market becomes more expensive, as maybe people believe more in AI, they think earnings potential increases, the same percentage discount now gets you a higher price than it did because the base price is now higher. But in terms of attractiveness, it's the same because people think, okay, it's a 50% discount, for example, to the now price, and it's still attractive because they think in terms of percentage discounts. And that is how we actually form these upward trending lines. It's nothing too fancy, it's really about human psychology. And yes, with that, we've come to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and now able to, you know, view support and resistances in a different light. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed this, please do give me a like, as it means a lot to me, as well as subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on future posts. And of course, if you have anything you'd like me to talk about, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, see you guys next time.